Let us start our session 7 with the prayers. Let us start with salutation to Lord Ganesha, the remover of obstacles. Vakratunda Mahakaya, Suryakodi Shamaprabha, Nirvikam Gurume Devo, Sarvakayeshu Sharvadha. Saraswati Namostubhyam, Varadhe Kamarupini, Vidyarambam Karishyami, Siddhir Bhavatu Mishada. Suklam Varadaram Vishnum, Sashivaranam Chaturbhujam, Prasanna Vadanam Dhyayet, Sarva Vigno Pashantaye. Let's salute Lord Hanuman, who is present wherever Ramayana is being read or wherever the names of Lord Rama is being chanted. Yatra yatra Raghunama Kirtanam, Tatra tatra Kristamasta Kanchalim, Bashpavari Paripurna Lochanam, Maharuthim Namatta Raksha Shantakam. Pujantam Rama Rameti, Madhuram Madhuraksharam, Aruya Kavita Ashakam, Vande Valmiki Kokilam. So before we look at the session 7, let us review what we have covered in session 6. It's always important to look into our previous coverage, Purva Charitra, what we have done in session 6. Session 6, we have started Ayutthaya Kanda. After completion of Balakandam, that consisted 77 chapters. So in Ayutthaya Kanda, we have looked at chapters from chapter 1 to chapter 20. If you are able to recall in chapter 1, all the qualities of Lord Rama again will be narrated here in chapter 1 of the Ayutthaya Kanda. Similar to the Samkshipa Ramayana in chapter 1 of Balakanda of Srimad Valmiki Ramayana. And then we learn about Dasaratha's desire to retire, and then preparation for Rama's coronation. The entire city of Ayutthaya was happy to hear about Rama's coronation. They were all celebrating a lot of festivals. Entire Ayutthaya was having a great festival at that time. And Kaikeyi was not informed. Mantara, the maidservant of Kaikeyi, happened to witness all this celebration, the joy of the city. And she came to know that Rama is going to be coronated. Immediately she went to Kaikeyi and she managed to brainwash Kaikeyi, poison the mind of Kaikeyi, for Kaikeyi to get the 2 bulls, to request for 2 bulls from Dasaratha. That is to send Rama 14 years into forest and to install Bharata on the throne. So what happened after that? King was shocked to hear Kaikeyi's bone, and he fell down, he fainted, he appealed to Kaikeyi, but Kaikeyi was adamant. And what happened after that? Okay, Rama was told that he needs to go to the forest and Bharata will be installed as the next king. Okay, so Rama will decide to leave for forest. He will go to the palace of what they call Kausalya to inform, and Kausalya will be completely in a mode of a shock, and she was completely emotional. So she was sad at that time. That's where we stopped during the last session, chapter 20 on Kausalya's grave. Okay, before we go into session 7, okay, session 7 again will be full of emotion. A lot of emotion will be displayed by the characters. So if you look at session 6, some of the lessons that we can learn in session 6, learn about Dasaratha's governance, Dasaratha's Rajya. In Ramayana, we learn many Rajyas. We learn about Dasaratha Rajya, then Paduka Raja, then Rama Raja. We also learn about Kishkinda Raja, Lanka, Raja of the Lanka, and also Raja of Ayodhya under several kings in the past. Not only Dasaratha, not only Paduka, not only by Rama, but the previous kings such as Sagaras, okay, Dilipa, then you have Bhagirath and also other kings. Okay, Dasaratha's governance, how he practiced participative leadership style. In fact, Dasaratha could have made a decision on his own. He requested the feedback of all the ministers and also his preceptors before making a decision. Okay, so another thing that we can learn from session 6 is that Dasaratha, do not be like Dasaratha. Never take decision or make promises when you are very happy or when you are in a depressed mental state. Always maintain what is said, equilibrium or equanimity. Okay, like what in the Bhagavad Gita is mentioned, sita prajna. Okay, before you make any decision, you have to make sure you have done lot of analysis of the impact of the decision that you are going to make. So you see Dasaratha, many times he used to make a decision that he used to make promises, he used to give wounds without thinking the consequences of what promises that he is giving to the people. Okay, and another thing that we learned from session 6 was the art of persuasion, how Mantara persuaded Kaikeyi. Okay, if you look into chapter 8 of the Ayodhya Kanda, it was all about how Mantara persuaded Kaikeyi, step by step. You can read a lot of books on persuasion psychology written by many modern authors. But if you read chapter 8 of the Ayodhya Kanda on the chapter on how Kaikeyi's mind was poisoned by Mantra, how she managed to persuade Kaikeyi, that itself is can be elaborated, can be explained in many chapters in a book on persuasion psychology. Okay, so the other important thing that we learned from the session 6 was the emotional intelligence displayed by Rama. Okay, Rama was not disturbed at all. Okay, on within few hours that he was informed that he will be the next king, he maintained equilibrium. That means equanimity in terms of what they call his emotion. And then after he received the news that he will not be the king, instead he's going to be sent to the forest to spend 14 years in the forest, still he was not emotionally affected. So if every one of us can train ourselves, train our mind to be emotionally intelligent, like what Rama has been displayed, that will be a great success in our own growth, personal growth, and we can teach other people not to be what they call controlled by their emotion. We need to be emotionally intelligent. That's one of the lessons that we can learn from session 6. Now, for this session, session 7, we are going to look at chapters from 21 up to 40. So 21, Lakshmana, when he heard that Rama is not going to be the king and instead is going to be sent to the forest, he was very angry. And then chapter 22, Rama will pacify Lakshmana. Anger, you can say, is an enemy. Everyone's enemy, anger. Kama, not only anger, Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Mata, Matsarya, all these you can include. Bhagavad Gita also mentions that if when one becomes an angry, when one becomes in a state of anger, when he becomes angry, he will fall down. Intelligence will be bewildered, memory will be lost. This is described in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, verse 63. Okay, Lakshmana was angry, and then Rama will go to Kausalya to obtain permission of Kausalya. Kausalya will present arguments why Rama should not go to the forest, and finally she agrees with the decision made by Rama. Kausalya will bid farewell to Rama, and then Rama will go. There will be chapters here, about 4 chapters, where Rama will be communicating with Sita. In fact, Rama will dissuade Sita from following him, and then Sita will also become very adamant. She wants to go to where Rama go, to the forest, and then finally Rama will agree to what Sita's request, and then Lakshmana too will be requesting to go to the forest. And after that, Rama will distribute his wealth to the rishis. He will pay respect to his fathers, console Dasaratha. Okay. Then a minister that is called Prime Minister Siddhartha will try to persuade Kaikeyi. But again, Kaikeyi will be adamant. She will never listen. And then after that, what happened is that Rama will seek blessings of his mothers, and he will depart to Ayodhya. Chapter 40 will be his departure to Ayodhya. So we start looking into from chapter 21. Chapter 21 started with Lakshmana's anger. Lakshmana will suggest, Rama, you take control. And then Kausalya also will insist Rama stays in Ayodhya. And then Rama will explain how important it is to uphold the dharma, the wishes of his father. And Rama will advise Lakshmana on the part of righteousness or the part of dharma. Okay, and then Rama requests Kausalya to give him permission to go. And finally, Rama again pacifies Kausalya and Lakshmana. How it started, if you are looking into chapter 21, Lakshmana will say, I think Rama should not go to the forest. Even he uses harsh words. He said, the king has lost his mind, overpowered by senility and lust. Rama is innocent. Turning to Rama, he said, Rama, here I stand devoted to you, dedicated to your cause. I'm ready to kill anyone who interferes with your coronation, even if it is the king Dasaratha. Let the coronation proceed without any delay. And not only Lakshmana, you remember this chapter 21, Rama is in the palace of Kausalya with Lakshmana. Kausalya will say, you have heard Lakshmana's view, O Rama. You cannot go to the forest because Kaikeyi wants you to do so. If, as you say, you are devoted to dharma, then it is your duty to stay here and serve me, your mother. I, as your mother, is worthy of your devotion and service as your father, and I do not give you permission to go to the forest. If you disobey me, terrible will be the suffering in hell. I cannot live here without you, O Rama. If you leave, I will pass unto death. Rama, devoted as he was to Dharma, spoke. Okay, among our ancestors, he will quote his ancestors. He will be narrating the stories of the ancestors who earned fame and heaven by doing their father's bidding. Mother, I am but following your noble example. Over here, if you look at this particular discussion between Rama and Kausalya, his mother, he has two dharmas here. One, whether is it to follow father's word or the word of his mother. Okay, if you look at the Upanishad, Aitiya Upanishad says, Matro Devo Bhavo, then you have Pitro Devo Bhavo, Acharya Devo Bhavo, Atiti Devo Bhavo. So, Rama has a Dharma Shankata here, conflict of Dharma, whether he should follow the word of his mother or whether he should follow the word of his father. Because Kausalya also requesting Rama to stay put. He should not go to the forest. Okay, but of course, Rama did answer to Kausalya. And then Rama also answered to Lakshmana. Okay. Lakshmana and also Kausalya. To Lakshmana, Rama say, I know, O Lakshmana, your devotion to me and also your strength. Okay, the entire universe, Rama says, rests on truth, and I am devoted to truth. One of the fundamental principles of Dharma is that truth, Satya. Okay, mother has not understood my view of truth, Rama is telling, but I am unable to give up my resolve. Dharma, Artha, Kama. That means Dharma, prosperity and pleasures are pursuit of mankind. And Rama says here, prosperity and pleasure, Artha and Kama follows Dharma. And one's action, one should not turn away from that action which does not ensure attainment of all the three goals in life, in particular Dharma. And Rama further says, the command of a guru, the king, and one's aged father, whether uttered in anger, cheerfully or lust, should be obeyed with a view of promotion of Dharma. Okay, you recall, some of you are familiar with the Kato Upanishad. When Nachiketa's father was doing the yajna, okay, Nachiketa prevented the yajna because he was donating all the cows that were not healthy. So what did the father do? The father in anger cursed Nachiketa, you go to Yama. The father cursed in anger. Nachiketa accepted it. So in this case here, you look at the king, even though indirectly he said, directly Dasaratha did not tell Rama to go directly. The word came from his mother, Kaikeyi. Yet Rama accepted. So Rama said, hence I cannot go away from the path of Dharma. So it is not right for you, mother, to abandon father and follow me to the forest. Therefore, bless me, mother, so that I have pleasant and successful term in the forest. Now, there will be further dialogue between Rama and Kausalya in chapter 24, whereby Rama will expound what he called Sri Dharma. So a lot of parts in the what he call Ayodhya Kanda, you will have Sri Dharma also will be mentioned. Sri Dharma will later be mentioned by Sita also to Rama. And at the end of Ayodhya Kanda, Anusuya, the wife of Atri Muni, will also present Sri Dharma to Sita. That will be at the end of Ayodhya Kanda. So if you look at the chapter 21, some note from Krishna Sharma. The leader has to use all the tools at hand to make his case genuine and authentic. In the case of Rama. So if you look into Ayodhya Kanda, chapter 21, those slokas 29, Rama expresses his inability and appeals to emotion. Inability to follow the word of his mother, even from whatever arguments that was presented by Lakshmana. He quotes the example of the past, just like a judge in a court, when he gives a judgment, he will refer to previous cases, case laws. Okay, he will refer to the case in the past that was what that has been given, whether in a country you call it federal court or Supreme Court, he will refer. So Rama referred to the conduct of the previous kings of Ayodhya, his ancestors, in order to justify his action according to the Dharma. Okay, he argues that one should follow Dharma regardless, whatever the scenario it is. He has to follow the Dharma. He articulates that his decision is not out of bounds. It is within the established pattern of Dharma. So, arguments was presented by Rama very clearly to what they call Lakshmana and also to his own mother, Kausalya. So then in chapter 22, Rama asks Lakshmana to exercise restraint, not to become angry. And he has further explained why he has to go to the forest. And a lot of explanation will be given by Rama from verse 15 to 25. And Rama once again asks Lakshmana to move on in this matter, not to again dwell in this matter. So some of the arguments that will be presented by what they call Rama to Lakshmana here includes Rama addressed Lakshmana again. So he told Lakshmana, let there be no delay. Please make preparation for me to leave the kingdom immediately. And we must ensure Kaikeyi attains peace of mind. Mother Kaikeyi attains peace of mind. Let our father's promise be fulfilled, O Lakshmana. As long as the two objects of Kaikeyi desire are not obtained, there is bound to be confusion in everybody's mind. I must immediately leave to the forest. Then Kaikeyi will get Bharata and have him installed. So here I have highlighted, not highlighted, I have bold this statement of Rama. Rama will say, this is obviously the divine will I must honor. Later on, we will make some analysis on statement of Rama here. Rama further says that my banishment from the kingdom as well as my return are fruits of my own doing, past karma. Okay. Otherwise, how could such unworthy thought enter the heart of noble Kaikeyi? And Rama further says, the end, reaction of one's action cannot be foreseen. This, which we call Daiva, providence of or divine will, cannot be known and cannot be avoided by anyone. Pleasure, pain, fear, anger, gain, loss, life and death, all these are brought by Daiva, divine will. Even sages and great ascetics are prompted by divine will to give up their self-control and are subjected to lust and anger. It is unforeseen, unviable. Hence, let there be no hostility towards Kaikeyi. She is not to be blamed. All this is not her doing, but the will of divine. Okay, this is a statement from Rama. So if you are looking at a statement, you will find that is it everything that is happening? It is based on divine will. Do human beings have power to control their life? So there will be a question mark. Okay, but when we look at this, okay, I have just added additional what we call slide here. Okay, but this slide will be there in the PPT that I will share in Google Drive once we have completed Ayutthaya Kanda. So if you are looking into this chapter, from what the statement of Rama, this chapter conveys a central message of all the traditions in this world. The Bhagavad Gita says, we have the privilege of action, not the power over the results. Many of you are familiar with the famous sloka from the Bhagavad Gita, which is from chapter 2, verse 47, where Krishna says, Karmanye eva dikaraste ma paleshu karachana ma karma pala heturbur bhathe shango akarmani. We have the power, we have to focus on the task, not on the outcome of the fruit of the pala or the what we call the results. And if you are looking into Christianity, it says God has a purpose behind everything. Islam also says everything happens according to the will of God, or what they call takdir. Takdir. And this chapter also says we should not blame God for everything, but we should take responsibility for our action. Whatever happens, all of the sudden, in an expected manner, it must be nothing but the act of God. Like what is happening now in the world today, whatever crisis that the world is facing today, we should not find fault with anyone who happen to be involved in the process. So we have to look at the two things here. Now, if you analyze the Ramayana, there are some of the statements by Rama, Sita. Later on, you will also find Sita in Sundarakanda will also be saying something similar. Okay. Is it everything is destiny, or human beings have free will? So that will be one particular questions that that will be in our mind. So the answer is that the answer you can find in the Ramayana itself, and you can also find in the Puranas and also in the Mahabharata itself. Individual have free will, but it is not 100%. If I'm going to provide percentage, it might not be accurate. I can say probably around 65%, it's already been determined. Like where we are going to be born, how we are going to be born, to whom we are going to be born, it is all predetermined. It is based on our past actions. But where we are going to go in future, What we are going to be, we have the decisions to determine. That means we have free will, maybe to some extent. Okay, Bhagavad Gita also says to some extent we are being controlled. There is one particular sloka in chapter 7 that says, Aivi Hesha Gunamahi Mama Maya Duratyaya Mam Eva Ye Prapatante Mayam Yetam Tarantite. It's difficult to overcome, difficult to cross, because some extent the divine nature, the three modes of material nature controls, just like puppets are being controlled by the puppeteer. But within the control, we have the free will. Like Lord Buddha says, where are we today is based on what or where we have been in the past, and where we are going to be tomorrow is going to be based on what or where or what are we going to do today. So we have the power to determine. Like if you take the case of Vishwamitra, he was born as a Kshatriya, but through his self-effort, through his tapasya, he managed to overcome his destiny. So to some extent, yes, the individual have the power to overcome the destiny. But mostly, if you look at, if you look into many aspects, like as I said to you, our birth, where, when, there to some extent it has been based on our past karma. Later on, we will also see this about karma in the episode of Dasaratha. Dasaratha, when he was young, he killed what he calls Ravana Kumar. She was cursed by the parents of Saravana Kumar. So in that particular chapter, you have something on karma will be mentioned. Mahabharata also mentions about karma in Anusashana Parva, very popular verse. Yada denu sahasreshu vasto vindati mataram tada purva krutam karma kartaram anugachyate. Out of thousands of cows, cow will be able to find its mother. Similarly, whatever actions that we have done in the past, the reaction of the action will find the doer. Okay, so we will take again the concept of karma again, will come again and again. In Ayutthaya Kanda also there will be, the next session also we will be looking into in the episode of Dasaratha incident. Dasaratha, before Dasaratha died, he will be thinking about his past action. Okay, we will come back to that again. Okay, next we go into chapter 23. Chapter 23 again, Lakshmana will argue now. Lakshmana will argue, why are you arguing on the part of destiny? So here we find self-effort will be talking, the Lakshmana will be talking about self-effort. Self-effort will be able to overcome destiny. This is what Lakshmana will be talking. So if you look into chapter, chapter 22 and chapter 23, chapter 22, Rama will be talking about everything about destiny. Destiny is something like supreme. But chapter 23, Lakshmana will be saying that you can overcome destiny. So Lakshmana will disagree with Rama's argument about destiny. Lakshmana said, we can fight. I ought to fight and protect the kingdom for you, O Rama. He insists that Rama Pattabhichega is to go on as planned. So you know what Lakshmana will be saying? Lakshmana listened with mixed feeling. He could not reconcile himself in the situation. He said, your sense of duty is misdirected, O Rama. Even so, your estimation of divine will. Rama, these people merely pretend to be good for achieving their selfish end. If all these boon and promise to be true, they could have been asked long ago, why wait for the eve of coronation? You ignore this and bring argument of divine will. So you see here, Lakshmana is telling Rama, only coward and weak people believe in unseen divine will. Heroes and those who are endowed with strong mind do not believe in divine will. So something like what Bhagavad Gita says, Bhagavad Gita in chapter 6 verse 5, mind is your friend if you are able to manage your mind, mind can be your enemy. Whether your mind is your friend, your enemy, it depends on your ability to manage your mind. One develops oneself by their own mind, by their own self. That means the mind must be strong. So this is the argument presented by Lakshmana to Rama. So people will see how my determination and strong action will set aside all the divine mean involved. This is unrighteous plot. Whoever planned your exile, O Rama, will go into exile. You will be crowned today. Look at my arms. These arms, O Rama, are for your service. This is the arguments that will be presented by Lakshmana. So arguments presented by Lakshmana here to Rama. Now, let's briefly look into the turn of events so far. Okay. In the beginning, you find Kaikeyi. Okay, in the beginning of what they call Ayutthaya Kanda, in from chapter 9, 10 onwards, Kaikeyi asked for the two boons he promised earlier. Two boons of Dasaratha promised during the Sambasura war with Sambasura. Okay, Dasaratha tried his best to avoid. Rama was asked by Kaikeyi to go to the forest. Lakshmana feels it's Rama's right to rule the kingdom. Lakshmana feels that Rama is hiding behind the wheel of Dharma and refusing to take charge. And Kausalya also does not want Rama to live into the forest. So on one side, the Dharma of father, on the other side of mother, and also also Lakshmana, the brother. So how to make sense of this whole episode? Who is right? So whether to follow Lakshmana and Kaikeyi, sorry, Lakshmana and Kausalya, or whether to follow words of Dasaratha that came through Kaikeyi. So what is Dharma here? If you really look at Dharma, and what are the options that each character here has? Like, what did Kaikeyi do? She merely asked what was promised to her earlier. It was a promise given by Dasaratha long, long ago. And based on whatever persuasion or brainwashing that was done by Mantara, Kaikeyi requested the boon. What did Dasaratha do? He upheld his promise, but he never uttered directly to Rama, go to the forest. But it was all implied in the process. The word came from Kaikeyi. Now, what are Rama's options? Take charge of the kingdom as parents have turned insane, as told by Lakshmana, and claim the kingdom as his rights. So here, if you look into Dharma, is Shukshma. So when you look at this, you find in Mahabharata, a lot of this, something like Dharma Shankata will take place in many of the characters. You will see the characters of Bhishma, you will see the character of Bhishma, Drona, and then later Salya, even Karna. The Dharma, what is Dharma? So in Karna Dharma, Dharma is being also been defined, the concept of Dharma. Dhara iti Dharma, that which sustains everything is Dharma. So on one side, Rama goes to the forest. On the other side, if you look into, Rama rules the kingdom. So which is the Dharma to be followed here? Whether to follow the Dharma of ruling the kingdom or going to the forest according to what they call word of the father. In fact, later on in Ayutthaya Kanda, there will be a sage that is called Jabali, who was also one of the preceptors in Rama's in Dasaratha's ministry, who will be arguing that you should go back and rule the kingdom. You should not follow the words of Dasaratha. She will be what they call presenting a type of philosophy that is called Charvaka philosophy. Charvaka, sweet words, Charvaka philosophy by sage Jabali. That will come later in Ayutthaya Kanda at the part when Bharata will be there meeting Rama and requesting Rama to go back to Ayutthaya. So if you look into Mahabharata, actions of Krishna in Mahabharata, he breaks a lot of rules, many rules. Okay, he requested Shikandi to Shikandi to stand on Arjuna's chariot when Arjuna was fighting with Bhishma on the 10th day of the war, so that the Bhishma can be defeated. He requested Yudhishthira to tell a lie that Ashwatthama was dead, although Bhima killed elephant Ashwatthama. So he requested Yudhishthira to tell a lie. So a lot of things that Krishna did to break the rules. But the bigger context of Dharma he helps. So when you look at Dharma, Mahabharata say to protect a family, okay, to save a family, to protect a family, an individual can be sacrificed. To protect a village, a family can be sacrificed. To protect a state, a village can be sacrificed. To protect a country, a state can be sacrificed. To protect one soul, the entire world can be sacrificed. This is what is mentioned in the Mahabharata. So Dharma, you have to look into micro Dharma and macro Dharma. Small Dharma and a big Dharma. So if you look into the Mahabharata, the entire war itself is to uphold the big dharma, to reduce the burden of world and many other things. If you really understand the Mahabharata well, so the same things here. Rama goes to the forest to protect the bigger dharma. Okay, which we will learn later part. So this is the, if you look into Rama finds that he is going to the forest is much more bigger than he rules the kingdom and follow what his mother Kausalya says, or even his brother Lakshmana says. So in chapter 24, we find Kausalya will again try to argue, and she wants to go with Rama to the forest. And Rama placed Kausalya to be in Ayodhya to take care of the father. Rama will, further explains the importance of Kausalya being in Ayodhya. Sri Dharma will be expounded by Rama to Kausalya. And finally, Kausalya will agree. So if you look at the Kausalya argument, Kausalya will say again, how can Rama live on food obtained by picking up grains and vegetables, fruit that has been discarded? You are the fire of separation from you will burn me to death. Please, oh Rama, take me with you to the forest. And Rama replied, oh mother, that would be extreme cruelty towards father. So long as father lives, please serve him. This is the eternal religion. So the Sri Dharma that will be expounded by Rama is that he will tell to a woman, her husband is verily God himself. I have no doubt that noble Bharata will be very kind to you and serve you as I serve you. When I am gone, you should console the king so that he does not feel my separation at all. Even a pious woman who is otherwise righteous, who follows Dharma, if she does not serve her husband, he is deemed to be a sinner. On the other hand, she who serves her husband attains blessedness, even if she does not worship God, perform rituals, or honor holy men. So we will see a lot of examples, many examples of this. As in the case of Savitri, Satyavan, you will see Anusuya with Atri Muni. Anusuya is a great personality. Later on, you will learn at the end of Ayodhya Kanda. Seeing that Rama was inflexible in his resolve, Kausalya regained her composure and blessed him. And she said, I shall eagerly wait for your return to Ayodhya after 14 years in the forest. Now, if you want to learn more about Sri Dharma, verses, slokas 18 to 30 from this chapter 24 will provide you with the details. Okay, verses 18 to 30 from chapter 24. What I have given here is a summary. Of course, there are people who have questions on this, whether it is still applicable in this yuga, Kali Yuga. You can put in a questions. We will try to take some of the questions at a later stage. As I said, too many questions. Maybe I will do a separate session. Maybe I will record and then I will provide you with a link for the answers for your questions. Okay. So that's if you look into the arguments presented by Rama to Kausalya. If you look at some of the notes from chapter 24, Kausalya was the first among the queens. Later on, you will learn how many queens that Dasaratha really had. 3 are principal queens. Okay, Kausalya is the first among queens, but she's a bit short, always worry. No, she always have a worry in her. She is a bit, although she's a mother of Rama, her nature is more a bit tamasic nature. Kaikeyi has a more rajasic nature. But if you look at Sumitra, she has more of a sattvic nature. Kausalya is soft, worried that her co-wives would mistreat her, especially Kaikeyi. As she explicitly stated earlier, if you look into chapter 20 in verse 39, she mentioned that. She has endured it for all these years as Dasaratha leaned towards Kaikeyi and knows about it too well. So her mind is filled again with apprehension that she might be mistreated by her co-wives in the absence of Rama. But Rama deflects her fear by bringing her focus on the genuine and noble purpose that she can live for, by taking care of her husband, by exalting the virtues of serving the husband. In fact, later on, Dasaratha will realize, okay, and he will realize his mistake of mistreating Kausalya. You will find that later stage in the Ayodhya Kanda before he passed away. He also allays her fears that the regime of Bharata could be difficult for her, saying that Bharata is Dharmatma, coming from Rama, who cares for everyone's well-being. This is an example of how Rama eases things, as stated in Sloka 14 of chapter 24, yet being truthful and honest about what he says. Rama is very good in giving communicating. This is very important part that we can learn communication by looking at by observing, by reading the words of Rama. And his communication clearly you can say that he's emotionally intelligent. Another personality from Ramayana that we can learn about communication is Hanuman. From Kishinda Kanda, we will learn about Hanuman. Hanuman's first meeting with Rama, how he communicated, and then his communication in Sundarakanda to Sita. So these two personalities, we can learn about a lot about communication, how to communicate well. Now in chapter 25, if you look into Kausalya prays to protect Rama, she performs rites for Rama's well-being, and Kausalya sends Rama awaiting for his return. So if you look into this chapter, there are 47 slokas all about prayers of Kausalya, blessings of Kausalya. Kausalya will bless Rama, okay, that let all the devas protect you, let the missiles which Vishwamitra gave you protect you, may all the birds, beasts of the forest, celestial beings, mountains, ocean, deities presiding, protect you. May the blessedness be with you that Indra enjoyed on destruction of enemy Vritasura, that Vinetha bestowed upon her son Garuda. Okay, story of Garuda, that Vinetha will bless Garuda will be, you will find in the Mahabharata, Adi Parva of the Mahabharata, first book of Mahabharata. The mother of Garuda, Vinetha, was enslaved by Kadru, the co-wife of Kasyapa. From Kadru, all the serpents came. Okay, in order to save his mother from Kadru, Garuda had to go and get the Amrita from the heaven. So at that time, Vinata blessed the son Garuda. So here, what we see is that the same blessings that Vinata gave to Garuda was given by Kausalya to Rama. Okay, then we have Aditi is also pronounced the same blessings to a son Indra when fighting with demons. Okay, and many other blessings was given by Kausalya, and she did yajna or rites prayers before sending Rama to the forest. Okay, that's chapter 25. Rama, after getting permission, blessings from Kausalya, where Rama will go next? Rama will go to Sita's palace. Rama enters Sita's palace, and Sita at that time was perplexed when asked, "What is happening, O Rama?" And Rama will explain about the management, and Rama will give advice what Sita should do during his absence. So if you look at chapter 26, all about Rama's communication with Sita. It's not only chapter 26, the other chapters, next few chapters also will be Rama's communication to Sita, will tell Sita to remain in Ayodhya, not to follow him to the forest. So he will tell Sita, the king has decided to install Bharata on the throne, to send me to the forest for 14 years. I am now on the way to say goodbye to you, O Sita. Now Bharata is your Raja, the next king he will be. Please behave appropriately towards him. So one of the important things that Rama will tell Sita here is that, remember, O Sita, people in power do not put up with those who sings other people's glory in their presence. Hence, do not glorify me in the presence of Bharata. It applies everywhere, you know. Okay, this is a leadership lesson. This is a leadership or followership lessons that the Rama is telling Sita to every one of us. Okay, so even in the presence of one girl, you cannot tell the other girl is more beautiful. The same applies here. In the presence of one king, you cannot tell another king or another leader is the best king, best leader or best king. This is a very important lesson that the Rama is telling Sita. So he tells further, it is better not to sing my praises even in the presence of your companions. Be devoted to your religious observance, serve my father and serve my father, serve my mothers and brothers. So this will be the counsel or advice that will be given by Rama to Sita. So chapter 27, Sita will say she wants to follow Rama to the forest. And Sita will explain why forest life is not difficult. She always wanted to go to the forest. She will present her arguments. Okay, so if you look into chapter 27, Sita will reply to Rama. Some of the slokas here is also part of Sri Dharma. Sri Dharma earlier that Rama preached or Rama expounded to his own mother, Kausalya, will be mentioned by Sita to Rama. And again, Sri Dharma will be mentioned again in Ayodhya Kanda. Again, we will come back to Sri Dharma when Anusuya will be narrating to Sita. So Sita replied to Rama, your advice that I should stay here in palace while you go and live in a forest is unworthy of a heroic prince like you, O Lord. So Sita will say, wife alone shares the life of her husband. To a woman, neither father nor son nor mother nor friends, but the husband alone is a sole refuge here in this world, in the other world too. There will be argument that will be presented by Sita. So you can look into that particular slokas. If you are looking into the slokas on the Sita's arguments from sloka 19 to 23. Hence I will accompany you to the forest, O Rama. I shall go ahead of you, clearing the path for you in the forest. Life with a husband is incomparably superior to life in the forest, or even a trip to heaven. I have detailed instructions from my parents how to conduct myself in Ayodhya. Because Sita will also say that her mother also have taught her about what Sri Dharma is. Okay, but I shall not stay here. I assure you I shall not be a burden to you in the forest. Nor will I regard this forest life as a suffering. With you, it will be heaven to me. It will not be a least hardship to me without you. Even hell, heaven is hell. This is the argument that will be presented by Sita in chapter 27. In chapter 28, Rama will present his part of the arguments. He will try to dissuade Sita from following him to the forest. So he will be dissuading Sita. If you look into chapter 28, it is 26 chapters only. If you are looking into, he will dissuade. He will provide all the arguments. Forest has many deadly animals, thorny bushes. Okay, performing nitya karma in a forest is not easy. Lot of inconveniences. So all the arguments that Rama will be presenting here. I'm not going to go through detail here the arguments, but I'm leaving it for you to read from the arguments that he has presented here. Why Sita should not follow him to the forest. In chapter 29, Sita says that living in the forest will not be difficult with Rama. Sita will be adamant. Sita is also adamant. Sita is a strong lady, not a weak lady as portrayed sometimes. Some people portray very weak, always follows. She's arguing with with her husband that she should follow the husband, not who is somebody who is submissive. So if you look at the character of Sita, she's a very bold woman. You will find many other verses later on when Sita says she will be advising Rama many times. Aranyakanda also you will find advice of Sita to Rama. Okay, she's not a weak person; she's a bold woman. That's why we can say people can women can take Sita's character as an example. Even in Sundarakanda, she was very bold when she was communicating with Ravana. When Ravana came and communicated with her, so Sita will say that formerly sages has told that she will spend some time in the forest. And then she will insist that she will accompany Rama to the forest. And Rama was still dissuading her. And chapter 30, if you are looking into chapter 30, Sita will ask why Rama is reluctant to take her with him. And she will again argue and argue. Okay, she even said she will end her life and once Rama does not take her to the forest. And Rama clarifies to Sita reason for his reluctance. And finally, if you are looking from this chapter 26 up to chapter 30, it's all about the communications between Rama and Sita. First, Rama will tell Sita not to follow him, to remain here, to remain in Ayodhya. But Sita will be adamant. She will pursue her argument. And finally, Rama will have no choice, will accept Sita's decision and ask her to get ready to go to the forest. Actually, there are long discussions. I'm just summarizing it to you. Further readings you can do from the particular chapter. And even in chapter 31, Lakshmana now. Lakshmana also wants to follow. Lakshmana also wants to follow Rama and Sita to the forest. And again, Rama here dissuades Lakshmana from coming to the forest and reminds him of his duty in his absence. And if you are looking from chapter 31, sloka number 18 to 25, Lakshmana will convince Rama how the issue raised by him will be addressed in his absence. And Rama asks Lakshmana, finally Rama will agree to Lakshmana and he will request Lakshmana to bring all the dead left weapons that was deposited with the Vashisthas and prepares to leave for the forest. So if you look at chapter 31, Lakshmana will speak to Rama, you are determined to go, then I shall go ahead of you, O Rama. Rama tried to dissuade him. I know you are the best, you are my best companion. Yet I am anxious that you stay behind and look after our mothers. Kaikeyi might not treat them well. Thus, by serving our mothers, you will prove your devotion to me, O Lakshmana. But Lakshmana quickly replied, Oh Rama, I am confident, Rama, that Bharata will look after all the mothers. Okay, if you look at here, he is speaking positively about Bharata, he will be looking at all the mothers. But when Bharata came to Chitrakuta to look for Rama, Lakshmana, when he saw Bharata coming, he was very angry. He thought Bharata was coming to harm Rama. He was ready with a weapon. But here, on a positive note, to present his argument, he says to Rama, I am confident. Sometimes when we want to present our side of the argument, we have to present things that are favorable. Okay, this is what Lakshmana is telling Rama. I am confident, Rama, that Bharata will look after our mothers. Inspired by your spirit of renunciation and your adherence to Dharma, indeed, Kausalya is great and powerful enough to look after herself. She gave birth to you. My place is near you. My duty is to serve you. So Lakshmana here presented his argument. His argument why he should follow Rama. And then Rama finally agreed. Then he told Lakshmana, get the weapons ready, go to Vashishtha and get the weapons, let us go. Before leaving, I want to give in charity. So in chapter 32, Rama and Sita offer several gifts in charities. Gift was given to Suyatnya, the son of Vashishta. Rama and Lakshmana gave away many gifts to sages. Rama distributed his wealth to palace attendants, Brahmana, charioteer, and all. In fact, there was a Brahmana called Trijata will come. Okay, Rama donated 1,000 cows and other wealth to Trijata, who came and approached him. So there is actually a story of Trijata who came. Rama will ask Trijata to throw the danda or the staff that he has in his hand. Throw when you throw the number of cows that reaches will be yours. So Trijata will try his best. He will tie his veshti to his what they call, and then he will throw. And Rama said jokingly, "All these cows are yours." I am jokingly, Rama joked that. Actually, if you look into that particular sloka in the chapter 32, he was leaving to the forest, yet he has time to joke to Trijata. This Trijata is a Brahmana who came for help for Rama. But there will be another Trijata in Sundarakanda who will be one of the Rakshases who will be very favorable to Sita. We will learn about another Trijata in Sundarakanda. This is a Trijata who is a Brahmana who came for help from Rama. So in chapter 33, Rama along with Sita will meet parents, Dasaratha, Kausalya, Sumitra. You see here, people of Ayodhya were shocked to see that in that. They are going to the forest. People of Ayodhya wants to desert the city and go along with Rama. For them, where Rama is, it will be Ayodhya. In fact, later on, they will be following Rama in later chapters. Okay. Rama asked Sumantra to inform Dasaratha of his arrival. Rama will do all the prayers. After that, he will go to meet the father. Chapter 34, Sumantra will inform Dasaratha of Rama's arrival. And Dasaratha, when he saw Rama, Lakshmana, Sita, he fall unconscious, full of emotion. You see, Ayodhya Kanda is a Kanda that is full of emotion. Reading Ayodhya Kanda, there are people who cry reading Ayodhya Kanda with emotions. But you must keep your emotions under control, emotionally intelligent. When you learn Rama, when you learn the character of Rama, you can learn to be emotionally intelligent. Dasaratha will request Rama to stay one more night. He felt he was cheated in the entire episode. Rama communicated his deep resolve to leave for the forest immediately. Rama says his utmost priority is to make his father's promise true and prepares to leave to the forest. 61 sloka in this chapter. Very long chapter if you are looking into 34, and the chapter that is full of emotion. And again in chapter 35, you look into Sumantra, the minister now argues the futility of Kaikeyi section. And Sumantra here will remind Kaikeyi's mother's behavior, the queen or the King Ashwavati, king of Kekeya. And Sumantra again will appeal to Kaikeyi to reconsider her decision. Reconsider her decision to banish Rama. But Kaikeyi was adamant. So if you look into Sumantra's, when this particular sloka, if you look into Sumantra, reminded Kaikeyi of her mother's behavior. Sumantra will remind Kaikeyi not to follow your mother's behavior. He will tell Kaikeyi, truly you have taken after your mother, O Kaikeyi. Your father, King Ashwavati, king of Kekeya, had a boon. He earned the faculty of understanding birds' language. Not only birds' language, faculty of understanding animals' language. One night he heard two birds talk to each other and he laughed. Your father demanded the cause of his laughter. And she would not yield. Even your father told that revealing the cause would mean his death. If he said what the words were communicating, then he will die. But Kaikeyi's mother was adamant. She doesn't care whether the king will be alive or dead. She just wants to know what was communicated by the words. Now, upon the advice of the sage, the king banished the queen and was at peace. So here, Sumantara reminding Kaikeyi of her mother and said, her mother did not value the life of the husband. If you do not immediately give up your wicked cause, you will earn eternal ignominy. And here you find that Kaikeyi paid no attention to the word of Sumantara. That was in chapter 36. And in chapter 35, in chapter 36, we find Dasaratha will order Sumantara to send army, granary, and all the requirement to the forest along with Rama. And immediately Kaikeyi will disagree with the proposal and insist that Rama should go alone. And the Prime Minister, Siddhartha, will explain the example of Asamanja that will be given by Kaikeyi will be inappropriate. Okay. So, if you look into chapter 36, Kaikeyi will tell that your ancestors, Sagara, exiled his son Asamanja. So, if you learn earlier, Asamanja had, Sagara had two sons. One is Asamanja and 60,000 sons. Asamanja was a king, but he exiled Asamanja. And son of Asamanja, Ansuman took over. So he exiled his son and he did not provide any enemy. But Rama will go nothing. Therefore, Rama will go with nothing. Just like Asamanja. But the Prime Minister, Siddhartha, said Asamanja was sadist and with wicked disposition. He killed even babies. He used to throw babies at the river Sarayu. Hence, Sagara banished Asamanja. Rama is not only faultless, but is endowed with all the divine qualities. Banishing such a faultless person will deprive even Indra of his merits. Enough, O queen, of all this. Let Rama rule the kingdom. King also joined with the Siddhartha and said, if your heart is not changed, O Kaikeyi, I shall go away to the forest with Rama and you rule the kingdom with Bharata. That was what said by the king. Rama told his father, I have renounced the kingdom and all the pleasures to it. What shall I do with the army? I shall be content if Mother Kaikeyi's servant gives me the robes worn by ascetics who dwell in the forest. And hearing this, without least delay, Kaikeyi herself brought dresses made of bark of trees for Rama. Lakshmana and Sita to beware. Rama humbly received his share and then dressed himself in an ascetic dress. Lakshmana also followed. But Sita was puzzled. She tried to wear. Different ways she tried, but did not know how to wear it. She turned to Rama for help. At the same time, all the women present there lamented and was sorrowful. Vashishta said, Sita need not go to the forest. She is very self of Rama. If both go to the forest, we shall follow them. I am sure even Bharata and the will be the sole ruler of the deserted kingdom. You do not know Bharata. He will not consent to rule the kingdom abandoned by Rama. You are therefore acted against your own son's interests. You only ask Rama to be exiled. Let Sita go adorned with princely garments and jewelries. But Kaikeyi ignored all this. So in chapter 38, we find Dasaratha tells Kaikeyi it is not proper to ask Sita to go. But Sita herself volunteered to go, and Rama accepted Sita's presence. Rama requests Dasaratha to take care of Kausalya during the absence. This chapter is only 18 slokas. If you look into in chapter 38, one of the shortest chapter in Ayodhya Gandham. See, if you look at Kaikeyi, what's the Kaikeyi's problem? If you do an analysis, is Kaikeyi good or bad? It's a difficult scenario. She has been good all the while, but due to the bad company. I remember the last session I quoted from Niti Sataka. Niti Sataka, if you keep bad company with you, indirectly, slowly, your mind will be turned into negativity. This is what happened to Kaikeyi. Kaikeyi, here, if you look at, she is not speaking out of wisdom or strategy. She is just acting under the spell of Mantara. Just like how Mantara hypnotized her, poisoned her mind, she is just acting under the spell of Mantara. She only knows one thing, that she can hold Dasaratha to his word. She is strictly following the script given by Mantara, which is very simple. Do not compromise any of the demand under any circumstances. Now, people will be asking some questions you might have. Is Kaikeyi or Mantara bad? They are adharma. Are they adharmic? Are they following part of adharma? Actually, if you really look at, Kaikeyi was innocent until Mantara poisoned her mind. But Mantara, is she really bad? Mantara, if you really do an analysis, she was following her Swadharma. Mantara was sent together with Kaikeyi to take care of the Kaikeyi. Instruction given to Mantara from Kekeya was to take care of the welfare of Kaikeyi. Kaikeyi's welfare is her welfare. She acted as per her dharma. Her dharma is to take care of Kaikeyi. That is her dharma. Dharma actually you can look into from a different context. Shiva dharma, Ashrama dharma, Varnashrama dharma, Ritha dharma, different context of dharma. So in the context of Mantara, Mantara needs to protect Kaikeyi. That is a dharma. So when Mantara saw what he called Rama is going to be the next king, and Kausalya's maidservant are all wearing expensive dress and very happy, celebrating. The entire Ayodhya was celebrating. Mantara's mind, she thought, if Rama going to be the king, Kaikeyi will be destroyed. Kaikeyi's destruction is going to start when Rama becomes the next king. Because Rama is a son of Kausalya, not from Kaikeyi. So she had the interest of Kaikeyi in her mind. She wants Kaikeyi to be protected. She wants Kaikeyi to continue to be the favorite queen of the king. So she thought that if Rama becomes the king, Kausalya will overtake Kaikeyi, because she knew that all this while Kaikeyi has mistreated Kausalya, and when Rama becomes a king, Kausalya will start to mistreat Kaikeyi. So she was afraid that Kaikeyi's interest will be sacrificed. Kaikeyi will not be taken care of. So immediately she came out with this plan. Immediately she went to Kaikeyi, Uttishto Mudo, why are you sleeping, O fool? Wake up. Great calamity is going to fall upon you, O Kaikeyi. Then she started to brainwash Kaikeyi in order to get a 2 boons from Dasaratha. So that is the thing, very important. Kaikeyi Not only Kaikeyi, for any one of us, Ramayana teaches not to keep or even listen to negativity or keep bad company with us. Okay, that will actually poison our mind. Slowly, our mind will be poisoned when we start to hear a lot of negativity. So, if you are looking into Kaikeyi's problem from some of the Subhashitas, okay, some of the Subhashitas. These are all, if you want to read, you can go to read. I just quote some from the Subhashitas. Okay, so Kaikeyi's problem. So if we moving into another 2 more chapters remains here once we have closed. So we have some time for some discussion later on because we have 2 more chapters. So in chapter 39, Dasaratha pours out his grief, asks Sumantra to leave Rama outside the cities and come back. The chariot is ready. Sita is given ornaments to wear. Kausalya's advice to Sita. Sita assured her of following the advice. So one of the advice here, he says, Veena, there will be a statement here. He says, a Veena without a string is no Veena. A cart without a wheel is no cart. A woman without husband, even she has 100 children, has no happiness here. Again, some things that relates to Sri Dharma also mentioned here. Okay, and then Rama will worship Kausalya, and remember here, 350 mothers assembled before leaving. So Dasaratha has many wives. So it is mentioned here about 351, including if you include Kausalya and 351. Sorry, 351. 351 mothers. 351. So Dasaratha has many wives. So in this particular sloka, you can go and check in the Ayodhya Kanda, it is mentioned that. So the other queens, okay, not only Kausalya, Sumitra, and Kaikeyi. So chapter 40, Rama, Lakshmana, and Sita will leave. And then Sumitra will give advice to Rama. That will be a very popular, very famous saying from Sumitra. You remember Sumitra is one of the queen who is emotionally intelligent, who is very philosophical, and has a lot of sattvic nature in her. So we will also find these slokas 10 to 17. Rama, Lakshmana, and Sita will board the chariot brought by Sumantara. People of Ayodhya's reaction of the king, and mothers of Rama, Lakshmana, everybody will be crying. The whole Ayodhya will be crying. People will be following the chariot. And of course, later on, Rama will request Sumantara, wake up earlier in the morning, and then they will leave, and then the people will not know where Rama have gone, and then they will have to return back to Ayodhya. So chapter 14 is the chapter where Rama will pray to his mother, continue to worship his father before leaving Ayodhya. He bowed to Kaikeyi and said this word to Kaikeyi, "Oh mother, kindly forgive me if I have during the years offended you in any manner. If I have offended you, O mother." Rama, Lakshmana, and Sita then went around Dasaratha. Okay, took leave of him. Then took leave of Kausalya, and then they went to Sumitra, mother of Lakshmana, who was delighted that her son is accompanying Rama. She blessed Lakshmana and instructed. This is very popular, very famous saying from Sumitra. "Oh Lakshmana, oh my son, regard Rama as Dasaratha, your father himself, Dasaratha himself. Treat Sita as your mother. Treat Sita as me, your mother, and consider the forest as Ayodhya. Go forth happily, my beloved son." So she was emotionally intelligent. She is somebody who is very philosophical. And if you look into her character, she will console Kausalya. She will console Dasaratha. So, see, the mother is sending her son, go and serve the brother. Treat your brother as your father, brother. treat your mother, your sister-in-law as your mother, and treat Ayodhya treat the forest as Ayodhya. Okay, when Rama mounted the chariots, mantra says, the period of exile commences this moment. The chariot moves. It moves the heart of people of Ayodhya, who ran behind the chariot, saying, go slow. Dasaratha and Kausalya also ran after the chariot, shouting, go slow. But Rama urged Sumantra, go fast. The pain of separation should not be prolonged. Go fast. Don't prolong by going slow. Do not prolong the pain of separation. The more you see, the more you feel depressed. So what Rama said was correct. Psychologically, it is also correct. Quickly you move away, move far away. Quickly, if you move, you don't see, you don't feel the pain. So the chariot picked up the speed. The ministers advised the king to return to the palace. You should not go too far to see one who wished to return, because it is said that Rama will return after 14 years. This is a time for those people who are in sorrow, who are emotionally affected. We need people to console them. To console, you don't have to be a psychologist or a psychiatrist. Anyone who has who is able to handle emotion well should console people. Any form of separation. So chapter 40, if you look into chapter 40. So in this session 7, we have covered chapter 21 to chapter 40 of Ayodhya Kanda. Actually, the emotion continues. The emotion continues. In fact, the next session, if you look at even the emotion, Dasaratha will still be very emotional. Very, very emotional. And then he was thinking of his past action, past karma, why he has to suffer, why the suffering came to him because of his many past incidents. Of course, one of the incidents that he will be narrating, he will be when he was young, he used to go for hunting. Mistakenly, he killed the boy, Shravana Kumar. And due to the curse, there was a curse by the parents that he will die because of the loss of his son. The same way that the parents of Shravana Kumaran would die, the same way Dasaratha also will die. So that was a curse to Dasaratha. So we have covered in session 7 chapters 21 to chapter 40. So we have about 15 minutes, and these 15 minutes we can ask a question. You have a question, you can type the questions. There are questions from session 6 and 7 that I have not answered. As I said, I will try to answer from time to time. I will take up the questions, or if we don't have a time, I will record. I can share with you the recording. Okay, now before we go into the Q&A session, try to look at what are the lessons that you have learned in session 7. Okay, if you recall session 6, there were many lessons. One of the lessons we learned about the participative leadership of Dasaratha, and then never act like Dasaratha, never promise in haste, always think carefully before you give boons or even you promise. And we also learn about Kaikeyi, okay, how Kaikeyi was adamant, how mantra poisoned the mind of Kaikeyi, why we should not keep bad company, people who advise you going to the path of adharma. And we also learn from session 6 about what you call Rama's emotional intelligence. Okay, that we have covered the lessons that we have learned from session 6. Session 7, the areas that we have covered, chapter 21 to 40, we can also learn many lessons. Try to reflect on that. You can note down. Okay, always keep some of the notebook, note down some of the lessons, because some of the message that I will give, it might not be in a slide, so you can note it down. Okay, that we have completed what you call session 7. Now I'm going to go into the questions to look into some of the questions from the chat if there are from this session. Let me look at. Okay, Dharma Shukshma. We know what cause and why Rama did that. Do you think Krishna would have done the same thing? Krishna also did the same thing. On Dharma Shukshma here, we are looking into a small Dharma or a bigger Dharma. Okay, are you going to look into it? As it is stated in the Mahabharata, we have Dharma. It is said that to protect a family, individual can be sacrificed. To protect a village, a family can be sacrificed. To protect a state, a village can be sacrificed. To protect what you call a country, a village can be sacrificed. But to protect one's souls, the whole world can be sacrificed. The earth can be sacrificed. This is from the Mahabharata. So both Rama and Krishna followed that. The only thing is that Rama did not break any rules. Rama stick to the rules to protect the bigger Dharma. But Krishna broke many rules, the smaller Dharma, in order to protect the bigger Dharma. That is the difference between Rama and Krishna. Okay. Okay, another question. Even Krishna adopts the part of leaving Mathura and accept to be called, okay, to save all the citizens of Mathura from Jarasandha's attack. Yes, Krishna moved his capital. From Mathura, he moved to Dwaraka. And if you look into the Mahabharata, even in the Bhagavata, Canto 10, Krishna have given many strategic reasons why he has to move the kingdom from Mathura to Dwaraka. It is not just due to attack from Jarasandha. Jarasandha attacks is just minor, one part. Okay. But later on, you know, Jarasandha, Mahabharata, how Jarasandha was killed. But Krishna took the kingdom to Dwaraka more for other strategic reasons, which will be even given in the Mahabharata itself, and you will also find in the Bhagavata Purana in 10 canto. I'm not able to provide the exact chapter from the Bhagavata canto on the movement of the what they call the from Mathura to Dwaraka, but I can check if you really want. You can check also. I can provide you with the reference. Okay, why Dasaratha felt he was cheated in the entire process? Actually, who is to be blamed here? It is Dasaratha himself, because Dasaratha, as I said from the previous sessions also, he's the one who will give his word before thinking. Before you make a promise, make sure you think whether you are going to fulfill the promise. So many times you will find Dasaratha will do that. So, but he felt cheated because, of course, he loved Kaikeyi so much. He thought Kaikeyi would never, ever, never request such a boon. But when Kaikeyi requested that, he felt cheated. That is why Dasaratha felt cheated in that particular sloka in the chapter. Okay, again, one lesson is to go for bigger goals instead of smaller ones. Second lesson is about welfare of the women along with the husband. Now, this three dharma is you will find in the Ramayana and Mahabharata. Those yugas, Treta Yuga and also Dwapara Yuga. Even Kali Yuga, in the beginning, it was followed. I do not know now how people argue if you want to say Sri Dharma to in a modern context. But I'm presenting what is there in the Shastras, what is there in the Itihasas and the Puranas. Okay, but of course, people will argue. There will be arguments on that. But this is as presented in the Mahabharata, in the Ramayana and the Mahabharata. Was Mantara's action considered as a destiny or daiva? Okay, to some extent, yes, because there are other versions of other versions of Ramayana that says that when coronation of Rama was being, preparation was taking place for coronation of the Rama, Devas was not happy. They were saying, if Rama is becoming the king, what is going to happen to what they call what is going to happen to Ravana? He will not go and kill Ravana. So they instructed Saraswati to go into the tongue of Mantara to influence Kaikeyi. That is not found in Valmiki Ramayana. But you can find in other versions of Ramayana that a Devas afraid that if Rama is going to be the next king, Rama's destiny, that is to kill Ravana, is not going to happen. So Devas instructed Saraswati to go into the tongue of Mantara and go and influence Kaikeyi. This is what one of the version of Ramayana. You can find, there are, as I said, Ramayana, there are many, many versions of Ramayana. But Valmiki Ramayana is the original, which is Mula Ramayana. Okay. Okay, another question. So is it possible for a dharma to be positive to oneself, Mantara, but have a negative consequences to... Now, if you are looking into individual dharma, Shwa dharma or individual dharma, yes, it can. But one dharma that is positive to one can have a negative to another person. Like a Kshatriya, when he goes to a war, when he kills, one is positive to one, can be negative to another. But what the Shastra says, all these dharma are small dharmas. What is important is a bigger dharma. So dharma, as per the Shastra, as per the Sanatana dharma, as per the Vedic literatures, mentions about 4 kinds of dharma. Shwa dharma, individual dharma. Ashrama dharma. Ashrama dharma means dharma in a particular ashrama. There are 4 ashrama: brahmacharya, grihashtra, vanaprahastra, sannyasa. These are 4 ashramas. And then vanashrama dharma. Vanashrama dharma means dharma in a community: brahmana, kshatriya, vaishya, and sudra. Then another type of dharma we call what we call Rita dharma, global dharma. Dharma for the entire society, dharma for the entire universe. Which is more important is a bigger dharma rather than a smaller dharma. Okay. Yes, on a smaller dharma, if you look into Mahabharata, we have a lot of conflicts of dharma. Okay. All the characters of the Mahabharata, they have their own Shwa dharma. For example, Bhishma, his dharma is that his promise to his father, Santanu. He promised his father Santanu, that he will protect whoever sits on the throne of Hastinapura. So he considers himself to be the Dwarapala of gatekeeper of Hastinapura. So Bhishma has his dharma to protect Hastinapura. Whoever wages war against Hastinapura, against King Dhritarashtra, he will lead the king. He will lead the army of Hastinapura. So that is the dharma of Bhishma. Dharma of Drona, dharma of Karna, Karna's dharma. Each and every one has their own dharma. Every character in the Mahabharata has their own dharma. And that dharma, all these dharma, it is considered to be micro dharma, considering the bigger context. That is a macro context, Rita dharma. Okay, as you said, as an act of karma, Lord Rama sent to forest. Can you brief the story? Act of karma, okay. Destiny, because purpose of Rama Avadara is to kill Ravana. In order for Rama to kill Ravana, he has to go to the forest. Another reason is that Rama has to be separated from his wife. It is also part of the karma, because in Uttarakanda of Ramayana, it is mentioned the curse of Bhrigu Muni to Rama, that he has to be separated from his wife. So actually, the Lord, the Bhagavan, the Supreme Lord, Rama, who is the Amsha of Vishnu himself, or Krishna, is beyond karma. They don't have karma. But when they take the human birth, they act as a human. So when they act as a human, they take karma as a part of being a human being, although they can go beyond karma. Okay, for example, not only Rama, even Krishna accepted the karma. After the war was over, in Sri Parva of the Mahabharata, you will find that Gandhari, the mother of the Kauravas, who lost all her sons, 100 sons. Actually, Kaurava, not all the 100 sons. If you look into one of the Kauravas survived, that is whom we call Yuyutsu. Yuyutsu is son of Dhritarashtra through a Vaishya woman, but not from Gandhari. Okay, but Gandhari's sons, 100 sons, were all killed in the war. So what happened? Gandhari even cursed Krishna. This is found in Sri Parva of the Mahabharata. Gandhari cursed Krishna, oh Krishna, you are the one who are responsible for the killing of all these warriors, all these people. You are the one responsible. You could have avoided the war, but you did not avoid the war, Krishna. So what happened was that Gandhari cursed Krishna that his clan, the Yadava clan, will be annihilated from this world 36 years from now. 36 years Gandhari gave. Some people might be asking why 36 years. 36 years after that was the start of Kali Yuga. 36 is 3 circles of what they call Jupiter, Brihaspati, planet Jupiter. So 36 years after the war, 36 years was ruled by the Pandavas under Yudhishthira. After that, when Krishna all left, they all left up to the Himalayas, and then one by one will fall. Yudhishthira will go with a dog. Okay, Dharma will test the Yudhishthira. He will refuse to take the dog, but Yudhishthira will be adamant, take the dog with me to heaven. So that will come under Mahabharata, the different part. But remember here, even Lord, although Lord is beyond karma, he, as a human being, takes the karma. Okay. Another question: how does priorities to dharma, immediate or personal? Okay. What is important is that the dharma, the bigger context of dharma. So the personal dharma sometimes is less important than a bigger dharma. That is why personal dharma, the family dharma will overpower the personal dharma. The dharma of the village will overpower the family dharma. Dharma of the state will overpower the village dharma. Dharma of the country overpower the state's dharma. Something like that. Individual dharma can be subordinate to the family dharma. So individual dharma is smaller dharma. What is more important is the bigger context of dharma. Okay. Another question: why Mantara makes Kaikeyi do all this? I have already mentioned that it is a dharma of Mantara to take care of Kaikeyi. She doesn't want Kaikeyi to lose at the end because what they call Kausalya will become the mother. Kausalya, mother of Rama. When Rama becomes the king, she was afraid that Kausalya will mistreat Kaikeyi because Kaikeyi mistreated Kausalya. Okay. What was the karma of Rama, Sita, and Lakshmana to go to the forest? Again, earlier I mentioned to you. Okay. Sita's case, you will find that there were astrologers. Astrologers who already mentioned that Sita will go to the forest. Lakshmana wanted to follow Sita because the case of Sita and Lakshmana, they wanted to follow Rama. They wanted to be part of Rama's destiny. Okay. Is it evident that Dasaratha ignored agreement with Kaikeyi, father, to make her the son's king? At least Dasaratha should have consulted the Kaikeyi. Yes, this is correct. Because Dasaratha, before he married Kaikeyi, he promised the father of Kaikeyi, that is King Ashwapati, that Kaikeyi's son will become the king. That is why, one of the reasons why, for the coronation of Rama, Dasaratha did not invite king of Kekeya, and when Bharata and Shatrugna was in the kingdom of Kekeya, he immediately he was in a hurry to make Rama the king. So he was trying to run away from the promise. Actually, if you really look at it in that way, but directly these arguments was not presented. The promise of Dasaratha to King Ashwapati, king of Kekeya, was not directly presented by Mantara to Kaikeyi and also Kaikeyi to Dasaratha. But we will get to know about this promise later part in the Ayodhya Kanda from the words that Rama will tell Lakshmana, that the father has already in the past promised Kaikeyi's father that Kaikeyi's son will be the next king. Okay. Okay. One person's food is another person's. I also say dharma is based on individual perception of what is right. One's action may not be okay. Yes, to some extent, yes. But all these are individual contexts of dharma we are looking into. The scope and perspective of dharma is many times will be explained. Mahabharata is a part where you have many uh, dharmic contexts. Exposition of dharma or the or deliberation of dharma will take place. How does one develop clear awareness of dharma? Know your duty. What is your duty at this moment? What is your Shwadharma? Everyone have to take care of the Shwadharma. Shwadharma means Dharma. Dharma of a student is what? Dharma of a husband is what? Dharma of a wife is what? Dharma of a son is what? Dharma of a brother is what? Dharma of a sister is what? All these things, one must understand what is the Shwadharma first. Then when you are looking into Dharma at the workplace, Dharma related to your job, okay, dharma related to the community, all these comes under, from a smaller dharma you go into a bigger context of dharma. Everyone needs to understand clearly. When you are looking into dharma means you also need to understand clearly what is the purpose of your life. For example, the Vedanta Sutra say atato brahma jigyasha. Now is the time to inquire about the self. What is dharma? What is your dharma? What is the purpose? And all these things. Yes, correct. Big dharma. Yes. Yes. Integrity. Okay. Greater dharma. Good of life. Okay. That completes the yes. Am I on time now? Okay. I have already taken more than about 5 minutes over the session. Okay. There are some of the questions from session what they call 6 and session 5 and 6 yet to be answered. I will look at maybe one of the sessions if it is possible I will record, otherwise I will pick it up from time to time, some of the questions that you have asked, maybe the next session or the following sessions. So anybody who have any more questions you can type, otherwise we have completed our session 7. Next week we will be doing our session 8 of again in what they call Ayodhya Kanda, with a lot more emotions about whatever from Dasaratha and others. So we have completed session 7. Thank you